Good morning. Today, we are going to see about the criteria of good research in research methodology. The purpose of the research. Research is off completed when objective or purpose is clearly spelled out. Research process. Every step followed in the process of research has to be explained fully. It will help the other person who wants to repeat search work for improvement. See, I will explain this picture over here. The research process starts with the questions or observations and knowledge, which leads to the develop the research topic. So, without a topic, proceeding is not sure to be a good one, and which leads to develop the research question. After that, a researcher has to choose a study design. After that, based upon the research study design, he has to collect the data for his research work. From the data collected, it may be a primary data or secondary data, data analysis will be done. From the analysis, the researcher has to conclude his conclusions and which has to be informed to others. This is what the actual research process. Research design. Research design is a framework of research method and techniques chosen by researcher to conduct a survey. It is also same thing of research process. Let's see about the research design. Research objectives and question. A researcher has to fixes the objective for what he is planned to do the research, for what, why, and how he is going to do, and he has to create questions. If finding an answer for the question is said to be the conclusion. Based upon these objectives and questions, data collection method will be finalized, whether go for a primary data collection or secondary data collection. Based upon these questions, sampling sites will be decided upon. And from the sampling design, samples will be collected. Data collection instrument, he has to choose what sort of instrument for collecting the data. After that, from the data collected, he has to go for a data analysis, and he has to be cautious with the time framework because a research has to be conducted for a long time, but a conclusion deriving after a long time, it may not be useful to anyone is in need of that. See, if in India, we have peoples have been not only India, the whole world affected by corona. Researches have been conducted how to stop the virus spreading of virus. The research continues till now, but it has concluded conclusion or any temporary sort of relief so that it was able to stop the spreading of corona. If it has not yet been controlled, means it will the entire human will be died long back ago. So a time frame is more essential for any research work. Resources. The required resources has to be planned by the researcher. And finally, data presentation and reporting. Apply ethical standard. Ethical standards refers to the principles that promote trust and good behavior, fairness, and governing the conduct of a person. Research often involves a great deal of cooperation and coordination among many different people in different disciplines and institutions. See, anywhere the scientific research will be conducted, but it will be tested only according to the ethical standard with a mouse, later with a monkey, and later with a dog, and finally with a human being. So, any medicine or any research will not be conducted directly with a human being, but in nowadays, uh, unlawfully. some researches are being conducted for research conducted for some viruses to control the viruses with the human body directly. But it is not a truly said to be a good research. A researcher should not possess this sort of attitudes of directly going against the ethical standard. They should follow the ethical standard, what is the process of conducting the research. And this is said to be the unlawful and it is not good for the researchers. Revealing the limitations. So, what are the limitations? Speaking about the limitations of the research, a researcher has to reveal what are the limitations in this research work. So that is the main thing he has to explain while doing this research work. Every researcher has its limits, and these limits arise due to restriction in methodology or research design. Practical difficulties may limit the amount of time available to explore a research issues. The research cycle, when you speak about a research cycle, the first thing is said to be identify the research area where you want to conduct a research. So first thing a researcher has to identify the research area, then he has to design the research study. After designing the research study, he has to carry out his research. After carrying out the research, based upon the data collected, he has to go for an analysis of the research and has to come out, comes out with the result. And whatever the results comes out, it will be published is research work. Findings of research. The principal outcome of a research project, what the project suggested, reveals or indicated. Conclusion. A conclusion is not merely a summary of the main topic. A conclusion is intended to help the reader understand why your research should matter to them after they have finished reading. Now we see about the research process. Research process consists of a series of steps or action required for effectively conducting research while formulating. First one is research problem, extensive literature survey, developing hypothesis, preparing the research design, determining the sample design, collecting data, execution of the project, analysis of data. So, the research process starts with the problem, and after the research problem has been identified, a literature survey, the previous literature work done by the people has to be studied by the researcher. Based upon those things, he has to develop the hypothesis. From the developed hypothesis, he has to prepare the research design. From the research design, he has to determine the sample of the design, and based upon the sample requirement of a sample, he has to collect the data. It might be a primary data or secondary data. Finally, execution of the project, analysis of data. Generally, the research is based upon the research process will be a scientific method. First thing is starts with observing what are the things happening. Based upon those things, questions will be raised, and based upon the questions, hypothesis will be framed. Once the hypothesis has been framed, experiments will be conducted. After conducting the experiments, based upon the experiment results, a conclusion will be drawn and which will be finally lettered as the result of the project work. Research problem is a statement about an area of a concern, a condition to be improved, a difficulties to be eliminated. or a troubling question that exists in scholarly literature, in theory, or in practice that points to be the need for meaningful understanding and deliberately investigations. The sources of research problem. What are the various methods of identifying the research problem? There are various sources available. It is not steps to be followed. There are various sources of research problem. First thing may be a personal experience. A person may be experiences by his own. It will lead him for a research. Um, People might have affected by a sugar or BP, something a family member got affected because of these diseases, which may induce him to go for a research work. So it comes under personal experiences, practical experiences. By means of practice, if a person seems to be doing the routine work, so practically he's been expertise in this field, he might like to go for a better innovations, which is which might have induced him for a go for a further research to simplify the work. Next one comes the critical appraisal literature. Some of the literatures may be having not been completed. It seems to be left apart, unfinished. So it make some people gives an idea for a research work. Exposure to field situation. Based upon the field situation also, a researcher may find how to solve the present situation. For example, a research has been conducted in India for when to declare a weekly holiday, whether a Sunday or Saturday or Monday. Long ago, India has been ruled by the Britisher. For their convenience, they kept Sunday as a holiday to visit the church. But later now, India having more religious and the people have been following the religious way and they want the leave to be altered because Sunday is a holiday, but all the organization and institutions and everywhere it has been a holiday. Any person working in a bank or any person working in an institution, if he wants to go to a bank, he is have leave only on a Sunday. But if he visit the bank on Sunday, it also will be a holiday. So the leave is having it's not productive for to him. And if the banker want to go for a haircut, he can go for on Sunday. But salon people who wants to go for a banking purpose, they are going for Tuesday because they following a long since long Tuesday as a holiday. So like that, some people have been find this convenient, and many of them are seems to be inconvenient. So this leads to the exposure to the field situation, but it is still to be concluded. Social issues. A corona, which leads to the social issue and leads to many researchers all the institutions want to update its knowledge. It will insist its students and the research people to go for a research work and the existing theories, and more theories have been available, and which is it's a path for the growth path for the better project works and better research works. And consultation, sometimes a consultation with the people who are in the seminar or conferences, it also may lead for the research, identifying the research problem. And thanks for listening to this research problem.